Welcome everyone. This is some big stuff here. We have the inaugural, the first podcast episode of CNY Sports Authority. Real quick, I'll introduce myself and we'll get to the main man, the creator. My name is Santa Shanks. I'm a high school history teacher. I'm actually originally from Long Island, so in terms of...
Not a small school boy. That's for sure.
No. I always thought growing up my school of it's called Babylon. I thought my school was small. So when I came up here and eventually got my teaching job, I was like, oh my God, Class C and D schools actually exist and there's this many of them. So that's kind of my background, and working with Jay here, I've always been just following with everything he's doing. And he got the idea of starting this. So I was like, hey, if you need help, let me know. And here we are.
Here we are indeed.
Yeah. For me personally, I'm more of a baseball guy. That's my number one thing. So you guys know as an audience. Love football. I'm actually wearing a disgruntled New York Giants shirt right now. Big hockey guy as well. I wish I played it. Didn't. Big New York Islanders fan, obviously, got to represent Long Island. Baseball, big Yankee fan. And besides that, I'm also a varsity baseball coach as well. And that's pretty much it about me. Anything you want to add about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of crazy. It was an idea from you guys out on the interwebs, so hopefully you follow and support. I'm Jay Lehman, the creator behind this wild experience. I grew up in Hamilton, born and raised Class D sports, coached several sports through Class D. I've coached soccer, I've coached basketball, I've coached softball. We've done it all. I play volleyball too, played hockey growing up. A lot of fun experiences in the small school setting. And wanted to pay it forward and give everybody a voice in that recognition that we deserve, because this is it for a lot of us, and so I wanted to make the most of it for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, and you created this, what, 2 years ago?
Yeah, I think we're actually coming up on the second anniversary. We haven't even done.
Oh, so you haven't even hit 2 years yet?
Nope. Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty amazing. And also, it's kind of cool, especially from my perspective, because even though you've only been doing this for 2 years, you already have this following, and primarily you've only been doing small schools. Mm-hmm. So one of the biggest things when I started coaching at this level was, one of the biggest things I learned was the fact that even though you're coaching Class D baseball, it's still baseball. You still got to play the game. It's still the same game. There's still a community side to it.
And I think that's the fun aspect of this, is that regardless of the school and the size, it's still the heart of the community. Your sports programs bring in the community support. That's why the majority of people are coming to the building outside of school hours, is because of sports. There's occasions where they come in for theater, for other arts kind of things, but for the majority, the most people are coming to the building because of sports, and it becomes the heart of the community, especially at a small school level.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm very excited for this, see where it goes. But I mean, this is pretty awesome to try. I've never even done this before. I'm a big podcast listener. Just because of the fact that I have a long commute anyway, so it's a great time waster. Mm-hmm. But I've always thought about what would it be like? How could that even happen?
And so we're gonna be learning through this, because I've done some journalism stuff.
1,000%.
I haven't done podcasts, so man, hopefully this is the worst episode we ever make. So thank you for joining us on the worst episode of the CNY Sports Authority.
1,000%. And again, for those of you listening, if you have any feedback, if maybe change the name of something, give us ideas, because like Jay said, we're evolving by the episode.
On the whiteboard for me was the My game of the week was Oriskany and Frankfort. The rivalry between those two teams runs deep. We share colors in the CSC together. So a solid battle went down in Oriskany. The Skyhawks were able to take the win 57-55, led by Nick Hayes and his 21 points. Eddie Wright with 12. Frankfort was on the cusp, battling back. Frankfort just starts chipping away. Jerome Bowen drops 26 points for the Maroon Knights as Phil Tangora had a double-double with 13 points and 12 rebounds in the effort. They gave themselves a shot. A lot of missed opportunities. Oriskany went ice cold to finish the game. Lots of chances to come back. They had heaved a full quarter, call timeout, threw an inbounds play. Oriskany able to get the steal and just hang on by the skin of their teeth to get the win over Frankfort. So that was my game of the week. Huge implications, I think, for the league with that one, as well as for sectionals and their seedings and where they want to be as they step forward into this postseason. What was on the whiteboard for you, Shanks?
Well, I actually want to add into that just a little bit more of your storyline.
Yeah.
That was very highly anticipated rematch. From looking on high school sports stats right now, Frankfurt was riding a 7-game winning streak. And in that 7-game winning streak was a victory against Oriskany. So that was definitely an anticipated matchup. We're going to bring them back up because we're going to have a separate discussion about the BTM rankings. Ironically, they just came out today.
Yeah.
And I got to pump Oriskany's tires a little bit more later on.
Okay. I look forward to it.
So, for me, my game, and I know, like we said earlier, we focus on a little bit more of the smaller schools, but before I started teaching and coaching in the smaller schools, I was subbing and coaching at Cortland High School. And I came across this box score, and I couldn't believe it. So going into this, I asked a parent, just give me some notes here that I can talk about this game, because if you look at the box score, going into half, it was 27-12 Homer. After 3 quarters, it was 41-20 going into the 4th quarter. Well, the classic cliche, it's not over until it's over. Cortland scores 26 points to Homer's 2 in the 4th quarter and wins 46-43. Cortland had a rough go within the first 3 quarters, out of sync, not hitting their shots. Typical kind of like Murphy's Law type game. Just nothing's working. Cortland goes into a full high intensity, full court press, get the deficit down to 9 with 1:45. Okay. So before Owen made the 3 to make it a 5-point game, another senior, Jackson Gambetta, hits a 3 to make it a 2-point game. After his basket, out of bounds violation on Homer. Following possession, Owen Johnson sinks the go-ahead 3. Tyler Thomas, senior, went 1 for 2 from the line as well, and Jamari Bell also went 1 for 2 from the free throw line with 5 seconds left in the game. The other thing I want to point out too was after Owen Johnson hit that go-ahead 3, I think we have the highlight which we'll play.
We do.
Senior Tyler Thomas on the inbound after Owen Johnson hit the 3, sits, takes a charge, reverses it.
Where is it?
So
let's roll this beautiful bean footage. I want this beautiful bean footage. Let's see this.
So inbounding it, there's Owen Johnson. Catch.
Boom.
Now I wanted to get, you're the basketball guy here.
Yep.
I wanted to get your opinion on this call. Homer's coming down, Tyler, boom.
He wears it.
Boom.
That's a charge. Hey, he wears it. That's a charge all day. He got position. Solid. One thing I think that people don't even know or realize too is the charge. You're allowed defensively to move side to side and backwards. You just can't go into the person. So he was in position. He wore it. Heck yeah, that's a heck of a play.
Okay.
An incredible.
I was curious what you were going to say about that. But I mean, talk about a senior stepping up, laying his body on the line, and just what a momentum shift, right? Kids coming down. Unfortunately, I don't know who the Homer player was there that was driving down, but just an unbelievable game, especially the fact that it's a rivalry. It's Homer, it's Cortland, very close town rivals. I also, in terms of their defense, obviously in this case, defense won the game for them, created the opportunity for their offense to even have a chance. Defensively, Caden Albury had 7 steals. Zach Muir had 5 as well. Hopefully I'm saying your last name right, Zach. I haven't met you in Cortland. So the only other stat and note is the fact that Cortland made Homer commit 19 turnovers.
Jeez.
So you want to talk about some swarming defense and flipping that switch. This is going to be a game that these kids are going to remember these Cortland kids are going to remember for, who knows, probably forever. Because doing it on your court against your rival, best season you've had in years, like this is some good stuff right here.
Love to see it.
As a coach, I can see possibly Homer's argument, but when you watch that back, like you said, you can move to side. You just can't go to the player. And to me, that's clear cut.
I didn't see him leaning. It looked like he got position and then stood straight up to take it. Heck of a call by the official in that moment too. Like you're put on it in that moment.
Yeah.
And he came through for them. That was a heck of a call, heck of a play. And all credit to the Homer kid too. I mean, that's what you're supposed to do with less than 10 seconds on the clock. You're supposed to get the ball and just take it to the rim as fast as you possibly can. Like that is exactly how you teach it. Just a great defensive play. And he even made the layup, but the great defensive play to get the stop.
That's just a classic moment of just good ball. And unfortunately, Homer was on the other side of it. So we're going to move to our next point on the whiteboard. And we did not plan this. This is working out great. We're going to talk about the BTM.
The BTM.
This has been a new system. There's been a lot of controversy with this across all sports, both boys and girls. If you do go back last year, because obviously we were not at sectionals yet. We're, 2 weeks away? 3 weeks away-ish? If you go back, for example, since we're in the winter season, if you were to go back to the boys and girls brackets under the BTM for basketball, they were pretty accurate. For the most part, in the semifinals, you're having your 1, 2, 3, 4 team. There were some schools that had, couple upsets here and there. I think last year Clinton for the boys in Class B was a 60, I want to say, and went to the finals.
Yeah.
So obviously you're going to have your upsets, right? But me personally as a coach, I see the good. I do.
I think it does a good job of catching the top teams. I think you're like top 4 are okay. But
maybe top 5 depending on the class.
Right. But the middle ground, it gets real muddy.
Yeah. So I'm going to let you start this conversation and we'll kind of rebuttal here.
All right.
In general, just before you get going, obviously there's a lot of controversy with this. You can argue things left and right. And we're going to do that here. And I'll bring up some points, you rebuttal, you bring up some points, whatever. I think for this to be successful, in my just opening statement here, there needs to be more guidance of what exactly is this thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it is sort of an algorithm that's like hidden behind closed doors. And the fact that they don't release it until 2 weeks until sectionals begins, it like keeps it hidden, unless you have ways of finding things out. So I think it's a great system if we were the NHL or the NBA. I think it's a great system if you play almost 100 games and you're playing every team that's out there. It's a really
especially
good,
because of the fact that in the NHL you're playing your divisional opponents 3 to 4 times a year, and the NBA,
Yes.
I don't know what the NBA is, but
Right.
you have that information to process.
Yeah, and that's it. The problem that I'm having with it is that it doesn't have enough information to go off of. And so when it's making these calculations, it's overweighing and underweighing based on maybe one game in the entire season. And that one game might be between teams that I have nothing really in common. They just decided to play each other that season. So one thing is it does keep track of strength of schedule. That is
Right.
part of the equation. The problem is you can play a lot of out-of-league teams that raise your strength of schedule, but the majority of your schedule is your league, which means
Right.
your ranking is going to be based on your league. And the thing that happens after that is it's cross-referencing how, kind of like what your win percentage might be if you were to play these other teams. But if only one crossover game happens, it is equating your entire league with that one game. So
Right.
last spring we saw this with the Frontier League in softball. Hamilton went and played Copenhagen, and Copenhagen won. And it destroyed the CSC in the BTM because it was the only crossover. And so every team that Hamilton beat got bumped way down because it said the Frontier League is better than all of them. And that's what you're seeing right now in girls basketball at a Class D level. We have Belleville, Henderson, and Lyme who have won a combined 3 games, and they are ranked above Stockbridge Valley and McGraw, who have won 9 and 8 games and have had successful seasons, but they're ranked above them.
Schedules too.
Yeah, and they're ranked above them not because of any of the games that they've even played, because they have only played the Frontier League and Up North.
Right.
Both Belleville, the only team in the entire Frontier League that has really played outside of the North is, I believe, maybe Sackett's Harbor played Pulaski, but that game is negligible because that's an OHSL game that doesn't have any other crossovers.
Right.
Lafargeville went on the road and wanted to play everybody. They were challenging themselves this season, and rightfully so. They're the top team, and 100% rightfully so. Defending champs, returning Emmeline Barton. They went on the road and were like, hey, Hamilton, you were the top team in Class C. We want to play you. Oriskany, you were one of the top teams. Hey, we're going to play you guys. Oriskany right now is one of the top teams in Class B. Then they went and played Frankfort. Now they lost to Hamilton and Oriskany, which doesn't do much to the algorithm because maybe the algorithm says that they're supposed to lose. But when they beat Frankfort, what happened was the entire algorithm said, oh, well, if Lafargeville can beat a CSC team, then the entire Frontier League is getting pulled up by them and is better than the bottom half of the CSC. And so all of a sudden it made all these kind of large changes based off of that one game. Frankfort then beats, I'm assuming they have played Morrisville perhaps, but there's interlocking games in which like a CSC team would then have played Morrisville, and Morrisville played some of these CSC or CCL teams like Stockbridge, and they won the first time. I believe they played McGraw. And so that right there, because Morrisville has lost a bunch of games in the CSC, but Lafargeville has won 1 game against the CSC. The CCL is now ranked entirely below the Frontier League, which it might be somewhat true that a lot of the Frontier League is better than the top, and we won't know. The problem that I have with that is that we're not rewarding teams that have had successful seasons, and that's where I say it gets really muddy in the middle ground. If you go with a much more formulaic strength of schedule, algorithm, which sort of weights your wins based on what quadrant those wins are in, then your win-loss record still matters. So you would have Lafargeville as the top. No doubt. They're up there. Watertown IHC plays all those games. I have no problem with them being number 2. But Stockbridge and McGraw should be higher than a 7 and 8. Like that's where it should be, the 4 and 5. They've won the majority of their league games. They've only lost one league game, and that was to each other. They split the league. They should be in that 4 and 5, maybe 6 ranking. Because right now you have the top teams of the CCL get one game. They have to play in this first round while everyone else has a bye. And then against each other, so the CCL has to play each other all over again. And then they move on to play, after a bye, the Frontier League on the road. So every CCL team will be on the road.
Right. And, I mean, you've traveled up north for games. I've traveled up north for games. You know, you try to say it doesn't play a factor, but it could. It could. Like, if your team does not, like, fully buy into that moment of saying, screw this, we're going to get on this bus for an hour and a half, whatever it could be, maybe even 2 hours for some of these schools, and we're going to beat them. We're going to prove it, right? But it's hard. It is really, really hard to say that a 2-win team should be ranked higher than a 9.
Yeah. The
team
that
statement
won
alone.
2 games is hosting the team that won 9, 10, 11.
Right. And then here's another factor which makes this system very difficult to argue for, is the fact that you have some schools that don't have the ability to transport themselves and their team to some of these other schools because either it's too far, you have to do it on over break or on a weekend, and the rates for bus drivers are higher because it's overtime.
There's especially in a Class C and D school level, the schools are not willing to pay for that travel. So I'll give a huge shout out to Lafargeville for being able to make that schedule happen.
1,000%. Yeah.
There are schools out there that will not make those trips. And that's where, in the NBA and NHL, this model would work great because you are playing everyone. You're getting a reference. You're cross-referencing every matchup that happens.
Yep.
But we don't. And it's a super flawed system because of that. It is a great system, but not applied in this way.
Right.
I like the strength of schedule seeding. I think it gives us the best chance of having the best games at the end. So I am a proponent of trying to have some sort of model in which that happens. You know, I think maybe the old NCAA football, how they used to rank the teams for the national championship and keep that into account, the whole BCS model. That ranking, it takes a lot of prep time to set up, but I think it would be great because you're comparing your win-loss percentage with all of the teams you played, their win-loss percentage, and giving you points onto your record that correlate with that. So we're rewarding the wins, but we're also giving you a bonus for having a strong strength of record, or strength of schedule. So if you don't play anybody and you got 10 wins, you might be sitting in the middle, but that might be a little more accurate versus you played 5 games, you win 10 games, and you have a team that won 1 ahead of you.
Right. And like the other argument that I have against this whole BTM is it doesn't quantify the game within the game. You know what I mean? So like,
absolutely,
you have that factor, and in my personal opinion, is there a sense of the game within the game in terms of basketball or even maybe volleyball too? You know, who knows? Maybe a team lost because they lost 2 players to injury or illness, whatever it could
hard. Be. Yeah, it's hard to quantify for that. You gotta it's gotta be, and that's the problem that I'm having is that win-losses seem to matter only in certain scenarios. Like your overall win-loss record doesn't matter. It's who you've played against and their win-loss record matters more, which is even stranger.
So what I was going to add to that is, like, for me, for as a baseball guy, and you as a softball guy, you can relate to this as well. Like, you could have a school that has won 10, 12, 14, however many games, but then they go play another school, whether it's a baseball or softball, and that team that they're playing and hosting has a stud pitcher that throws, in terms of baseball, throws 80 plus, and they pulled it off. Well, were they really better than a 10 seed, a 12 seed? You know? And then
Right.
on top of that, especially for softball, right? Because with baseball, you have the pitch count rule, which is phenomenal. I'm all for that in terms of protecting players' arms, especially because of the fact, most of these kids aren't going to go to the college level because it's that much harder to get to the college level in the first place. But in general, like, you guys for softball, you can roll out that same pitcher every day. Mm-hmm. So what hurts the smaller schools is the fact that you're not going to see these bigger schools schedule non-league games now with the smaller ones, because you want to talk about strength of schedule. Well, it's like, okay, well, if, let's say, for example, your league is kind of dwindling a little bit, maybe you lost a team or two and you're looking for non-leagues. Well, the other league you want to look for has a full league schedule and their options are very limited. Okay, well, let's look to a bigger school. Maybe they want to fit us in. Well, from what I have seen, if a smaller school beats a bigger school, I don't think it has the same impact as that bigger school losing to the smaller school.
Yes, there's far more risk for the larger school within those scenarios. And so it hurts all of these small schools because no one really wants to play. They're scared to play because it'll affect their seeding so much. And that's the risk you run with playing that game. And that's, it's a frustrating metric to run in, especially because sectionals is open. So some schools are holding themselves to a standard. So, if we went by the old scenario, Lyme and Belleville would not be ranked over Stockbridge and McGraw because they wouldn't be in the tournament because they didn't hit the 400 win percentage. So it would kind of solve some of that, but not all of it by any means. Right. But because it's open, what's stopping that team from saying, hey, we've won 0 games all season, but we're ranked ahead of somebody else. So we're going to go to sectionals because sectionals says we're better than this team.
Yeah,
and that team might be hosting. They might be hosting.
That's exactly what I was just going to say.
Yeah. So it's not rewarding anything that I think it's supposed to. And like I said, it is a great model. It is a very smart system. I just don't think it works with the limited cross play that we have and the limited games that we play.
Right. And especially for us in the spring, like, we're in upstate New York, like, hello. Yeah. We're lucky if we're on our fields in April, Yep. But the other thing, the last point I want to make in terms of the BTM that, is the point against it, is there's no value of the amount of games you play. So, like, for me, for example, I want to try to get 18, maybe 17 in terms of our full schedule. But who's to say that a team that only schedules 15 games purposefully, and they only play 13 due to weather, rainouts, whatever it could be, and now they're ranked higher than a team that went 11-6 for a 17-game schedule. So the fact that there's no, cookie cutter rules, I guess, of like, hey, if you play this many games, it really gives the system a more accurate calculation. But again, that could be argued against because what if the school can't do it?
It's flawed, and it is highly flawed. And I think over the past few years, that's what we've seen, is that there are times when it gets it right, but there's a chance that, like when we look at the sectionals at the end with the brackets, the top 4 seeds have made it often. And so there is obviously a defense for that. But part of that is you gave them home field advantage through all of that. So
Right.
did that play a factor in the fact that they made it there? Who knows? But you got to play the games. You got to win them. I've been a big proponent of, you got to play who's in front of you regardless. So
Yep.
if you got to go on the road, you got to play where your seed is. I mean, you got to win them all to be the champ at the end of the day.
Yeah, you got to go wherever you got to go. You got to play whoever you have to play. You got to be obviously, playing well, a good team overall. And you got to have a little bit of luck too.
Right. The thing that kills me, just from the Class D girls standpoint, is these other teams, because Class D is so small right now. You have these teams that are essentially getting a bye. They're only 2 games away from the championship. And so, like McGraw and Stockbridge have played to the best that they can within their league, which is the majority of their games. They have 3 games to make it to the championship. They have to win their first game against the CCL opponent that they've already played 2 or 3 times. Then they have to go on the road to one of the top teams of the Frontier League. And then they get to the semifinals. Right. Versus you could have a bye. Now you see another team come to your place. If you win that game, you're in the semifinals from home. Now you have to play one of the top teams in the semifinals. Maybe you can catch lightning in a bottle, get it upset. You're in the championship. But the road is longer and much more difficult because of that seeding.
Right. So it brings me to the next little part of our BTM talk here. We did talk about the girls' Class D bracket, so that's a point that we can cross out here. I was comparing the brackets you posted on your Instagram earlier today, and I was just looking at, what do I like, what do I not like, so on and so forth. And now that they're actually out, this actually really does help. Before that, also, before I forget, there was a little bit of a shakeup. DeRuyter boys basketball lost today. They went up to Lafargeville, so credit for them to orchestrating that non-league. And Lafargeville, which is a Class C school for boys basketball, beat DeRuyter by 3. So now that shifts Stockbridge and DeRuyter, who have split games against each other. Now Stockbridge is the 3 and DeRuyter's 4.
Yeah, and that's the trickle down effect too. So DeRuyter not only dropped to 4, but because the Frontier League now has a direct route into the CCL, it shifted some of those other matchups. So OV, who was sitting at the 5 seed, has dropped to 8.
Oh yeah, I didn't even notice that.
Copenhagen, who was sitting at 9, has moved up to 7. Belleville earlier was at 10. They had moved up to 6. They're moving up now to the 5th seed. So because
that's
of
crazy.
all, and that's the other volatile part. Like Belleville's season has been so weird. To put it nicely, like they've been losing to teams that you wouldn't think they'd lose to, but then beating teams that you think they didn't have a right to beat. And so, in some essence, I feel like Class D boys is getting pretty accurate because of those few interesting matchups. But that was a change of 3 or 4 seeds based off of one game.
Right. Now, I just want to go through 2 points. So the first one I want to point out, I said earlier, excuse me, I was going to talk about Oriskany boys basketball again. As of right now, they are the 6th seed. I personally think they should be higher. I think they should be above Hamilton, and you could argue they could be above Frankfort.
Well, they just beat Frankfort, so obviously, yeah, you can make that.
I know, but they did split.
Yes.
Right? So, but if you look at Oriskany's resume, I wrote some stuff down here. They do have, you could argue it's a bad loss to Faith Heritage, but at the same time, Faith Heritage was in the Class D finals last year, lost to Sackett's Harbor, who went to the state finals for Class D. and I'm pretty sure they lost by like 2 or 3. So they were, who knows, maybe one possession away from winning the whole state tournament. And with the fact that they're a Catholic school, who knows who they have that they didn't have last year. But either way, they lose to Faith. They split with Frankfort, and they also split with Waterville. Waterville right now is the 3 seed.
Yeah. Well, and this is where things get interesting, because to me, it's going to be interesting how the final 2 weeks play out. Because as the final 2 weeks play out, the dust is going to settle a little bit. And if you look, the BTM difference between Hamilton and Oriskany is not very much. And Hamilton's injury bug has really kind of handicapped their season. I mean, they were on a solid streak, and then Cooperstown, Tully, great opponents, but
yeah, it's the 1 and 2 seed right now.
Then on Tech, and then you can see the score difference once the injury to Bryce Wright took place. So they have quite a few games to finish up with.
They got a big one on Monday.
Yeah.
They're playing Cato on Monday. That's the 5 and 7 seed right now. So
right.
Who knows? That could throw a huge wrench.
Yeah, that has huge implications. And then they play Morrisville and then finish with Cooperstown and Tully again. And if those 2 games go that way, they could be dropping significantly. And Oriskany, if they keep on this little hot streak that they got rolling, they're definitely going to eat up into that spot.
Yep. The Oriskany right now is looking at their record is 12-4, both seeding and overall right now. And they have won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of their last 6. If you want to expand that even more, 1, 2,
and they should, if you go on shoulds,
8 of their last 10.
They should win out. A close game against West Canada Valley at the end, probably, but they should beat Poland, Town of Webb, Remsen, and then West Canada Valley is a good game, but they did beat them by almost 20 the first time.
Right.
I guess 16-point win the first time they played. So they should be able to win out, and that's where these last 2 weeks are going to get real exciting.
Absolutely. So I got one more situation, and then we will move on from the BTM. And I think it's a good point just to bring up, just for more perspective, more evidence of the BTM, and get your thoughts on it. So we're gonna move up to AA real quick. We're not gonna spend that much time on this because I know it's a bigger class and everything. But again, like I said, I feel like it's good evidence and good situation to talk about. ESM I think should be the 2, not the 3. And I know we're splitting hairs here, but they beat Fulton, who's the 2, and I think their schedule is very, very strong. They're looking at a 10-5 record right now, both seeding and overall. And then people can look at West Jenny right now, defending sectional champs, and pretty sure they went to the semifinals last year. They're looking at a record right now of 8-5. But if you look at, this is a classic example of strength of schedule. If you look at West Jenny's schedule, more than half of their schedule is against AAA schools. So even though they're 8-5 in terms of Section 3 play, because I think they played some other teams that don't count.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing for them, right? The AAAs and AAs have a lot more interplay. They play against each other. Their leagues play, their crossovers are far more intertwined. So the AAAs and the AAs play each other a lot. They'll dip down into the A's occasionally. You're not going to see you might see 1 or 2 B's out of a few schools, and then no one touches a C or a D for the most part.
Yeah.
Right? And so the BTM does a better job with those bigger schools because there's more interplay. It has more information to read off of. So I do think that it plays better up there versus when you get down into C and D, you have the CSC, which is gigantic, and they have like no rooms for crossplay. The Frontier League is bound by travel, so there's not a whole lot of crossplay. So at the C and D level, you're we're stuck versus the A's and Triple A's are talking about Syracuse, Rome, Utica. We're making those cross trips. Not a whole lot of travel going on. Pretty easy to make it happen. Those leagues play each other a lot. It's going to be a little more accurate, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Like I said, the only thing you can really argue against West Jenny is the fact that they lost to Marcellus, who's a Class B. But I mean, look at the teams that Marcellus is beating.
Well, Marcellus is a B with an asterisk in my mind.
Yeah.
They are Class B because of size, but man, they're good. They're legit.
Bishop Ludden, they won 54-53. Yeah. Bishop Grimes, they beat 63-59. They lost to West Hill, but I mean, West Hill looks like they can run away with the sectionals again.
Yep.
But like we said, this is an onion that has many, many layers and something that can be debated. We could be on this call here talking about this system for another 3 months. So I don't know. It could definitely improve. Mm-hmm. All right, we're gonna move on from BTM talk, and we are gonna get to our next segment of this episode, which is the final point on the board. So Jay, what is your final point?
My final point. This is my random rant, and it struck me yesterday. And I don't know why. I think it's because there's a little bit of an old school coach still in me.
Okay.
This is a hot take, and you can come at me in the comments all you want.
Okay.
I hate stopping the game for a 1,000-point scorer. When you call a timeout, stop the game, we have a whole ceremony. We bring a ball out onto the floor. We take a picture in the middle of a game. It drives me nuts. It really irks me. It's a milestone, and it is an incredible milestone. And there is, for every 1,000-point scorer, I'm not harshing on that at all. I think it's a gigantic distraction. From a coaching standpoint, it really drives me nuts. Like, I would go on to bet that a lot of 1,000-point scorers, the second they hit that point and after they do the little ceremony, there's a little bit of a lull. I think people in the stands should be keeping track of how many there is to go. And the second it gets hit, there should be the loudest explosion in that gym ever.
Yeah.
And then as a coach, I want to ride that momentum. Why are we stopping things? I want to just run that thing like crazy because you got the 1,000-point. At the end of the game, bring the ball out. Let's have the picture. Do all the big stuff. It's awesome. Now, if you end up losing the game, does it kind of stink? But sure. But in the moment, you could be losing anyway by 20 points when you get your 1,000-point. Who's to say that even guarantees? I want this tradition to stop. I want us to hit the point. I want the gym to go absolutely bananas. I want it to be crazy loud until the next timeout, until the next, the quarter ends, something big happens. At the end of the game, take the moment, do the photo op, honor it the way it should be honored. But why are we stopping the game for this? If you hit it in college, no one's stopping it. It's a and this is the thing, it's a milestone. Milestones are meant to be hit and then continue on, right? You take a picture of your car when it hits like 100,000 or 200,000 miles. You take a picture and you're like, ooh, look at the odometer go. Here's a milestone. You didn't stop driving. Okay, you're just going to keep on going. I hope you don't finish with 1,000 points. What happens if I call timeout, we do this whole ceremony, and then you end with exactly 1,000 points in your career? You could have had more. You could have, I don't know. That's my final point take.
I do think it's interesting because, you could compare it to maybe a baseball player or softball player getting 100 hits, and that's kind of quick, just like, teammates come out real quick, high five, and then back in the dugout and resume play. And also, like, to support that, you could also say, well, to stop the play, the next time out, or let's just say the basket happens within the last minute, 2 minutes, and then it goes in between quarters. Whoever's working the microphone at the games, just be like, hey, we just want to give a quick shout out real quick that during this timeout or during intermission that John Smith just hit 1,000 points. We're going to honor him after the game with the game ball and everything for pictures. If you want to stick around for that, that'll be after the game. Done.
Yeah, make a big deal on it on the microphone. Just keep the game going. I mean, you're supposed to get a 1-minute timeout. You're telling me this whole photo shoot is taking under a minute? Nuh-uh. No way. No way. No. That's a tech. No. I challenge the zebras. I challenge the refs out there that the next time there's 1,000-point score, that coach calls a timeout after he scores. At the minute mark, hit him with the tee. Put the other team on the line for 2, give them the ball, and let's get back at it.
Okay. We're starting out hot with the final point on the board. So we're going to end the whiteboard segment here with the game of the week. So for me and my game of the week, it's not just a game. It's games of the week. We have a very interesting situation. I don't know if one of these games was rescheduled or if this is just how it fell on the calendar. You have the CCL title on the line between, as of right now, the number 2 seed and the number 4 seed in Class D basketball for the boys between Madison and DeRuyter. They are playing each other Tuesday, the 4th, and Friday, the 7th. They have not played each other yet, obviously. The CCL is up for grabs. A 2 seed, possibly, maybe the 3 seed, is up for grabs here. And this is kind of one of those moments where, Madison, is this a moment where you can just put your foot down even more and say, look at us, we're legit and we're coming? Or you get DeRuyter coming in and they split, and they're co-league champs. Or what if DeRuyter sweeps and DeRuyter says, no, we're not getting talked about enough. We're legit too. And this top 4 here for the boys Class D goes through the CCL, and this is going to be a big time week here for the Rockets and the Blue Devils. I'm very, very excited to see how these box scores wind up.
Yeah, I think those are going to be some solid games. I give the edge to Madison.
Just gritty, physical matchups.
Yeah.
Madison definitely has a size advantage with Justin Lemunion. He's a big boy.
He's an animal. I think he was the underrated player coming into the season. I knew Burns was going to be cooking pretty well, but even Burns has kind of taken his step back, and it's double-double after double-double for Lemunion. He is a hard person to guard inside.
Yep. He's got size. He can handle the ball. His footwork is clean. When they were playing Stockbridge at Colgate for the Gray games that you organized, which was phenomenal. I was working the music, and the part that was impressive for me with him was he wasn't getting phased. Like, if he got a call against him or if a bucket didn't go, like, it was just like, all right, whatever, like, moving on. So that's pretty big, especially for a big guy, because he's going to get absolutely killed in the paint there, because most likely he's going to be bigger and stronger than most people. So he's got to kind of take abuse to provide. So it's a huge role, and he's doing really, really well with it.
Yeah.
All right. What is your game of the week?
All right. For my game of the week, for the boys, we have on Monday, Cooperstown versus Waterville. That's a huge matchup. We got currently 1-3 in Class C. Miles Nellen dropping 20.9 points a game, leading Cooperstown. Cooperstown is the biggest surprise story of the year. I love it. Charlie Lambert was doing a great job last season for them, dropping points left and right. This season, it seems much more balanced on their attack, and they are nasty. Undefeated so far this season. And they go
the points
on the road to take on Waterville.
Is just impressive.
Yeah. They go on the road to take on Waterville, who definitely wants to be in this mix, led by Jackson Ruane for having 24.2 points a game. And that's where Waterville is a little sketchier because they don't necessarily have those points from other players in the mix. So it'll be a nice little chess match for that game. But Cooperstown has just been running wild.
It's the new guy in town here with the Hawkeyes.
Yeah.
And there's a little Long Island accent there for you too, by the way.
And then for the girls, I have on Friday, Lafargeville heads over to take on Class A Indian River. And I'm pretty excited about that. Indian River is the reigning Class A champion, Lafargeville the reigning Class D. Indian River is led by Kira Lalonde with 14.5 points per game and Allison Lamora with 13.4. And Lafargeville is led by Emmeline Barton, who's dropping 20-something points a game on the regular.
No big deal.
No big deal. I'm interested to see how that one plays out. Indian River not having quite the season they did last year, graduated some talent, but still one of the top Class A teams for the girls. And then sectional starts for volleyball coming up. So there's no game of the week for volleyball because we're waiting to finalize the sectional seeding and see where everyone comes out.
No, that's right. I forgot they start a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
The other thing too is, Waterville, they're reigning sectional champs. So,
got to defend that title.
You want to doubt the champs, then let's go. We're going to get down to our final segment of our episodes, which we call the breakdown. Now,
breakdown who?
Ironically, this is nothing. Well, it could bring sports into it. But what we're going to do here is Jay and I are going to bring a random scenario. We don't tell each other. We don't prep each other. Nothing. And we have to give our instantaneous answer feedback. So if you guys can think of any other categories that we could do, we'll entertain them. I'm going to have you go first this time because I went first for Game of the Week. So what do you got for me?
All right. So you have to come up with a blind ranking named off of the new school logo and name for all the schools that have had to change.
Okay.
All right. So blind ranking. There are 5. Okay. You got 5 schools that you've got to rank based on how you feel about their new nickname and new logo, and or however you want to rank them.
Okay. So I'm factoring both logo and name.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
So,
your first choice for the rankings, the Town of Webb Timberwolves.
it's a good one to start with. Let me see if I can. I'm going to pull them up here.
They were one of the first ones to go.
What were they before?
They were the Eskimos before. They had one of the worst logos, I think. Any school, the little Eskimo guy was, it was rough. It was rough to say the least. But they were one of the first ones to come out as wolves, and now there's a lot of wolves out there.
I'm looking at it right now on my screen. I do like Timberwolves. It's nice. The logo is good. Pops. Good color scheme. They're maroon like everyone else in this area. That's one thing I discovered when I came up here, started working here. I like the font too. I'm going to put them at... It's solid, in my opinion. I'm going to put them at 3.
3 for the Town of Webb Timberwolves. All right, your next
choice. Good transition.
Yeah. Next choice, Sequoia Valley Redhawks. They changed over from their interlocking SV to the kind of cool, edgy hawk head.
Ooh, okay. What are they called again?
The Redhawks.
I
feel like a lot of the teams with the Hawks kind of... the name's not great.
Yeah. Good. It's a good logo. It's solid. I'm going to put them at... I have a feeling there's one worse than that. I'll put them at 4.
You're going to put them at 4. I love the logo.
Yeah.
Red Hawks
the logo's
isn't as good to me. Next one. The Morrisville Mavericks.
Love Mavericks. I don't know why, but Why'd you got to put the red thing on its face?
That's what I was saying. Why is he wearing a bandana over his eyes?
I get it, the horse riding history to it and everything, but that's a 5 for me. I'm sorry. Sorry, Morrisville. Sorry.
I love the Mavericks idea. Like, I feel like you can make a horse look like. I don't understand. I get that they were like trying to add red to it in some way, I guess. But
Yeah.
I don't understand
you
if they're
could've made
going
it-
over the eyes.
Maybe make the black fur red or something. Different looking horse, really.
Yeah. All right, next one. You've only got spots 1 and 2 left.
Oh boy.
Cooperstown, the Hawkeyes.
I was just looking at this and I was like, wow. I don't know what it is, but I love it. Hawkeyes rolls off the tongue easy. Colors, I'm biased, black and orange. That was my hometown high school. Love it. This is risky. I really do like it. It's a strong name. Good logo. I'm gonna go 2.
Ooh. See, I'm a huge fan of Cooperstown. The Hawkeyes I thought was a great rebrand, especially given the fact that Cooperstown is named after the Cooper family, who have James Fenimore Cooper, who is the author of all of these books that his main character is Hawkeye. So it's region appropriate, and it's just a cool name, Hawkeye.
I had no idea about that.
And that's the logo.
That's awesome.
He's the pioneer. He's the pioneer guy in the center of that circle.
Damn, I might be regretting not putting that at 1 now.
All right, and the last one, you got to put them number 1, the Weedsport Wolverines.
Damn, that's a tough look. That's a tough look for your man here.
I'll give you this: Wolverines, I really like, but so far their logo is a W.
Yeah. Damn.
They've had a few pictures of a like a teddy bear looking Wolverine with a sailor's hat, ripping off Michigan, I think. But you made choices.
I did.
I don't disagree with all of them though.
I can't wait to hear about the messages of that blind ranking now. All right. So ironically, I have blind rankings for you as well.
Nice. All right.
But there has nothing to do with sports.
Oh, okay.
And I know you're like me. We have a little bit of a sweet tooth.
That is very true.
And you and I like our chocolate.
Yes.
So you are going to do a blind
I like how
ranking.
Long Island came out on chocolate too.
What are they selling? Chocolate. So all different types of chocolate bars.
Okay. Give it to me. How many do I got?
You have 1, 2, 3, 4. You know what? I'll add a 6.
Okay.
So you're going 1 to 6.
Okay.
Ready?
Yes.
First one. Almond Joy.
Solid 6. That's no.
Damn.
Don't. I'm not even gonna think about that one. Like when I go around for Halloween and there's an Almond Joy in there, like get the.
Oh, that's the first one I'm grabbing.
Oh, you know what? Actually, I have a feeling there's something horrible in here. I'm going to rescind my 6. I'm going to put it 5 because I do think it's vile and I don't want it. But I have a feeling you've done something here that is going to make me want to vomit. So
we'll see.
5. I'm going 5.
Okay, we'll see. By the way, Almond Joy #1 for me. Coconut, love it.
No, coconut's gross.
Next one.
Yep.
Twix.
Twix. You get your left and right debate. You always have to go left because I'm left-handed, and so the left is obviously better.
Okay.
There's nothing quite like the cascaded caramel on top of that crunchy nougat cookie center with chocolate. Twix is #1. Twix, you can share it. You can share it, but you're not going to. You're going to eat both. You could share it, but you're going to eat both. It's a Twix.
Okay, I was not expecting that. Next one, Snickers.
Snickers is solid. I like the Snickers ice cream the most. Snickers ice cream bar, I think, is kind of the best way to go. I I think it's all around good. Great marketing campaign. Love the being stupid if you're hungry. I'm going to go 3 for Snickers.
Next one, Kit Kat.
Kit Kat. It's up there with Twix. Except here's the difference. You can share a Kit Kat. Like you'll break it off and you'll give it to somebody. Mm-hmm. You're eating both Twix. Kit Kat's my number 2.
Hershey.
Tried and true staple. You can't make a s'more without it. Oh God, if you put Reese's in here though, and Reese's is 6, that's atrocious. And I'm going to be a terrible human being.
That might be the next one because it is.
Oh, all right. Well, if that's the case, I cheated the system. And I apologize to Almond Joy for overselling it and putting it at 5. But Reese's at 4 and Hershey at 6. And you know what? I can live with that because Hershey is the base. Everything else gets added to it. You can make an argument that it's number 1, but you can also make an argument that I had to add something to it in all of these occasions to make it better. So I'm okay with it at 6.
Absolutely. All right. Well, first one's in the books. This was actually a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was
just
fun.
Thank you to you, Jay, for including me. Thank you to everyone who has been following CNY Sports Authority. Give us feedback. What did we do good? What did we didn't do well? Give us feedback on our blind rankings, so on and so forth.
Yeah,
our BTM talk.
We hope that this is our worst show and that we can do many more.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So let us know. Thanks for watching or listening, whatever you're doing. Hope to see you again in 2 weeks, and we're going to focus on getting a player interview for next week. Until then, see you guys later. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.
Big coverage, small schools, CNY Sports Authority.
Shot a BB gun out in the yard, had a Mark McGuire baseball card, mowed the lawn just to make a little cash. Was the fastest kid in second grade, but our church league team never won a game, so I threw that trophy right into the trash. Thought root beer from a bottle would get you drunk, I ain't making that up. We played outside, we caught fireflies, bare feet on the hot concrete taught us how to run. The whole world was a playground until the sun went down. We had it all.